All right. We are a few minutes early here, just waiting for people to join. All right, looks like we got some people joining. What's up, everybody? We are on our porch. It's a little windy, so apologies in advance. Still a few minutes early. Apologies in advance. Okay. Well, what's up, everybody? How's your afternoons going so far? Right on a Friday afternoon. All right. Looks like we got some folks coming in here. Just waiting for more folks to come in. While we're waiting, you guys can check out Cooper here. Garden the porch. Hey, Corey. Awesome. Glad to hear. Glad you're joining us. Welcome, welcome. Greetings from Minnesota. We might have to go inside later. It's supposed to rain about now, so apologize in advance if that ends up happening. If it were a better day, I would have actually been doing stuff in the garden right over there, but it is not. And so I'm working out the kinks for the Wi-Fi and everything. But glad to have everybody join us. We're just waiting for a few more folks to join. Anybody have any questions? I'm part of me is doing this live stream is huge thanks for hitting 5,000 subscribers this year. I'm at 5,800 now. Huge deal. I didn't expect that would end up happening. So thanks to all the viewers out there who are curious. So this live stream is really for you guys. Any questions you have for me, feel free to ask, and I'll do the best of my ability to either give you an answer or point you in the right direction. I'm not an expert at anything. I just try stuff all the time. How's the wind noise? The wind's picking up a little bit. Are you guys good, bad? Let me know in the comments, the chat section. And Corey, you're saying you're not working. What do you do when you are working? It is getting loud? Okay. Well, I can. Let me know if it does get too loud, and we can go over there. We can go inside. I don't know how the lighting will be though. Let me know. Hey, that's cool. Working at a lumber mill. Jake, Ethan, hello. Thanks for joining. How did I make how did I become a millionaire? Well, I did it while working a full-time W-2 job. I was in manufacturing, and on the side I started investing in real estate. And there's in manufacturing, there's something called lean. My background is in lean. It's basically the science of efficiency. And I took those skills and I applied it to real estate investing, kind of buying and flipping homes, if you will, a little bit at a time, little bit at a time, little bit at a time. And I was able to build up enough residual income from that to retire and do that full time, or rather leave my W-2 and do that full time. So that's kind of how I got my start. And it was totally possible. There's other strategies that people can do, like house hacking and stuff that, you know, normal people working W-2s, we have an opportunity to, you know, be financially independent and do it relatively quickly. It took me about 3 years to do. But yeah, and I'll have to apologize in advance. I'm not used to the live stream. I'm sure there's a lag going back and forth. How much am I worth from Jake? Um, well, the stock market's down, and I guess housing is down. Um, I am. I was at one time worth about $2 million. I'm sure I'm lower than that. All right, Corey. You had done a video about growing sweet potatoes in pots, wondering if growing indoors slow down in the winter. Yeah, they'll slow down. It's based on the lighting. Um, I actually did a harvest. That video is going to come out soon. The harvest was not good. Spoiler. And it was because I had them in the pots for too short of a time. I should have brought them inside, but I left them out for a cold snap. When the cold snap happened, it killed the top of the plant. So I went ahead and tried to harvest what I could. And you'll have to tune in to see what ended up happening. Um, you can supplement with artificial LED lighting. And if you can keep it warm enough and have enough light, then you should be able to grow through the winter. If you're depending on natural light, it should be okay. Yeah, definitely grab a grow light. Um, Especially nowadays, they have the specialized LED lights. Um, they're pretty good. You know what? Jake, can we see the garden warehouse pool area? Yes, I will. We might lose connection, but I'm going to go ahead and try to bring us inside here. One day, if it's not too windy, I will get us back over there, and I don't know if you guys can see it. Way back over there, we've got the guinea fowl running around and Cooper, but it's just too windy today. We'll try to do that. Now, Corey, I know you came for the sweet potatoes, or probably sweet potato video brought you here. How were you interested in growing normal potatoes in 5 gallon buckets? There is a different strategy to that. I was considering doing normal potatoes as a series of videos, but if you're interested, I can. That was something I was going to devote some time to. Fastest fruit food we can grow under the gun. Okay, so there's a few things. Depends if you're looking for meat, proteins versus non-proteins. Speaking of, I actually do have some fast food here. Not sure if you can see some chickens. But you're gonna have radishes already in 28 to 30 days. That's extremely quick. The fastest thing you can probably grow is going to be it's going to be fungus. Funguses, so different mycelium. You're basically mushrooms. So I have oyster mushrooms. I mean, in a matter of a few weeks, they'll grow. You can grow all year round. And then that's very, very quickly. And then starting next year, I'm going to be looking at broilers, growing broilers. Broilers are meat birds. They're almost as fast as radishes. So you're looking at 4 to 6 weeks and you're harvesting a bird. So that's extremely quick. That's why a lot of people get into it. So yeah. Let's see here. Okay, so I am in the pool room. This is for Jake earlier. This was initially outdoors. My father ended up building this home back in the 50s, and he kind of built it in like a U shape with a pool in the middle. And then in the 2000s, he had a tragedy happen. His company burned down, and so when he rebuilt the company, he bought extra materials and negotiated the building of this pool room into there. There are some decorative plants that were planted, like this is a gigantic rubber tree. And we've got elephant ears. I don't know if that's the actual name, elephant ears. I know that is a rubber tree. But we end up, I had fiddleback fig trees in here, and I cut those down. And here's the indoor garden. We got new asparagus coming up. And so the indoor garden, I basically took out the plants here that looked good, and I removed them and replaced them with useful plants. What got me interested was COVID. I have a video coming out showing the indoor garden, but COVID basically spurred me to start going down the food production. So I started going down the list with the science of efficiency. I found gardening, started applying that to gardening, and created the channel to bring you guys along. Okay, have I tried to grow avocados? If so, do we have success? Yes. Here is an avocado tree. Not sure how well you can see that. Let's see if you can turn around. All right, so this is the avocado tree. It's very difficult. And in fact, I'm going to show you a contrast. This is an avocado tree grown on the same day, planted on the same day. Not sure if you guys can see that. Same pits that we bought from the same day at Walmart. Not sure why that one's teeny tiny. And this one is so big here. It's pretty tall. We actually topped it because it was growing above the light and started to bend down, searching for light. So we have it propped up. It's definitely difficult to grow depending on where you're at, right? If you're in the tropics, they should be growing everywhere. I know in Hawaii, you can just throw them outside and they'll pretty much grow. So that's definitely a difference there. Okay. Let's see here. Grow light time using pots. I got fruit trees in. Oh, cool. So Corey, I think you're saying that you're going to start growing your fruit trees through the winter, prepping them until the spring. I think that's a good plan. Let me know what you guys want to see here too. You can answer any other questions. Yeah, avocados, they're tough. I think a lot of the cultivators will use grafted varieties instead of planting from seed. It took a long time. We took avocado pits and then actually had to sprout them and then actually plant them. So that's a 3-year-old avocado tree from what you're actually looking at. All right. These are all really good questions. Well, I appreciate it, Jake. Yeah, I think I'm very fortunate that the house does look pretty cool. It comes with a lot of headaches. If I were to do it myself or go back into big houses are very inefficient. So yeah. Okay, what are we growing? What's the area we're sitting in? Okay, so we're going to start with Ethan here. What are we growing? All right. So that's a great question. These little shrub-looking things here, these are going to be asparagus, what asparagus looks like. This is what asparagus looks like if you are unfamiliar with it. After it kind of flowers out, we've got a whole bunch of so peppers. So here's bell peppers here. We've got the 2 avocados. We have different kinds of bell peppers. These are supposed to be cabbage. Nothing ever grew of them. We're just kind of letting it ride. I did have some okra growing here earlier. And actually, you can see the chop and drop from where the okra was. It ended up dying out. Not sure what killed it off. It could have just been a temperature or weather thing. But these here are just all different kinds of peppers. So it's pretty impressive. We'll actually have peppers, like this bell pepper here. We'll have peppers all the way into January. You see new growth here. As long as it doesn't get a freeze in here, peppers are actually perennials. They'll keep growing. They're just a very tropical plant. So peppers are the main thing. Here we've got a crazy jalapeno plant. This is one of the most prolific plants that I've ever planted. It just started as some seeds. This plant, my dog dug up. It died. And then it was crazy. The seeds had planted themselves. I actually had to cull 4 or 5 of these plants because they just keep landing and replanting and regrowing. Over here, we've got some lavender. We got lavender here, and these are pine tree saplings that have a very interesting story. So as pine trees, my dad planted a pine tree forest when he was a boy back in the 1930s. And so I wandered into, it's not public land, I wandered in with a shovel and I stole the saplings that were growing in the canopy of the forest. I mean, those things are 80 to 100 feet tall now. So I stole these saplings and planting them. I'm planning on taking what he had planted and then planting them on our property here because he never got to see the fruit of that. But that's pretty much what we have growing right now. You can see there's a very good indoor pepper plant there. I'm pretty sure those pepper plants are the same ones from when I was in, I bought them from Walmart and I wanted to recoup the cost. So let's see here. Hey, cool. Apple tree you started from seed. That's really tough. And you started the apple seed and now you canned that, Corey. That's huge. One of the things I was wanting to do is I have some compost piles outside here. I'll show you guys. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see. Give it some time to adjust. But I'm trying to grow multiple apples from seed, plant them outside and see if we can get new varieties, just to see what happens. I think it'd be neat. No apple seeds grow true to its parent, and so I want to try to, take a Mark Shepard approach and really increase the genetics. All right, Jake, you said, what am I sitting? Kind of the area. This is a party area, party room. Basically, my dad grew up extremely poor in the Great Depression, and then he actually in 1960 he was 31 years of age, and so he basically went through and wanted to provide for his family. I was actually super late, like 20, 30 years after everybody else, and so he kind of made this in the 70s so he could share it with his family. And there's a few generations of kids that got to grow up here. And then when he passed away in 2014, the house sat vacant and empty for many, many years. And then in 2016, I ended up moving back and kind of, the house was in disrepair. So we did that. And then my mother just had her 70th birthday. So that's what you see. What this is right here. So exciting stuff. Oh no. Yeah, so you got a crab apple out of it. That was the thing I was thinking for, Mark Shepard. What I was having a conversation with him, and if you plant a bunch of trees and some make it with good fruit, and you can identify that early on, you might be able to graft the plant varieties that you like onto the rootstocks that are making it, but produce fruit that you don't like. That was one of the things I was really looking into because my thought of that, there's Asian pears and different pear trees that are great. And obviously Bradford pears are super, not good and invasive. Well, if you can take every tree that's growing out there and graft on a useful pair, then that might be some, that could be something that is a good use for a highly invasive plant. It already has good root stock, right? It's grown big, as is above, as is below. I think that'd be pretty neat to have as um, I don't know, good. Again, I walk through the woods and there's a bunch of Bradford pears everywhere due to birds eating the small pears. So I think it'd be neat if I could find a useful pear tree to grow and graft everything and cut the rest of the part out. I just don't know how. I'm planning on testing some of that. There's actually a field. So there's a neighborhood that butts up against one of the far parts of our property, and they have some, maybe in the 90s, they had some Bradford pears. Well, now the hayfield next to it, the hayfield's almost all pear trees. I mean, it was an abandoned hayfield. It's almost all pear trees. So if we can take and reuse that, it's like a shortcut, right? If you take a look at, I think, MYOB, if you take an existing tree that already has a lot of root system and then you can graft something that's productive on there and it can clone itself, you might see some food, but it's still years. It's not minutes. What pear varieties do you have? That's pretty exciting stuff, Corey. And there we go. We got 69 girls XYZ. Very nice. Not a bot at all. But anywho, we've got there's a lot of things, I might have Mark Shepard out later. Let's see. All right, Ethan says, what kind of apple is your favorite? I like a good Arkansas black apple. I don't know what an Arkansas black apple is. That sounds like either a joke or actually a delicious apple. Um, I like the Gala apples, but there was something I saw. It had yellow skin and like a pink inside, a vibrant pink inside. I don't know what that is. I think it'd be cool to grow it. I'd love to actually just plant all kinds of species of trees, find stuff that's really good, that tastes great, makes good fruit, and then clone it. Um, so I don't know. I'm kind of with Corey, just planting a bunch of different things from seed. You know. Now, Corey, one thing for crab apple. Okay, so you said you got crab apple out of it, but your wife made apple butter. Did you use the crab apples? That was the first question. Second question is, you can still use crab apples to produce cider. I'm not sure if you knew that. That was actually what Johnny Appleseed was doing. People, the cartoon version of Johnny Appleseed is spreading love and joy, apple orchards for apple pie. Realistically, Johnny Appleseed was going around planting things because they were a very hardy perennial crop that would provide a good, safe source of liquor that was also food safe. You could drink it. That was very interesting. I actually did a college report on Johnny Appleseed, which is what happens. But yeah, outside of that, we might have Mark Shepard out here towards the end of the month. I'll try to get some good footage. For those of you who don't know Mark Shepard, he owns Restoration Agriculture, Design, and New Forest Farms. They basically take junked out crap farmland or blank abandoned land, and then they turn around and they basically run bulldozers across it to adjust the landscape to hang on to the water, to slow, spread, and soak it, like a lot of you permaculture folks might know. And then and then they plant appropriate trees that can then live in the local conditions without ever having to water them. And so he's going to be out here. I think that's pretty cool. He's trying to do permaculture on a farm scale, and he's not trying to do permaculture on a homestead scale. So it's a little bit of a difference of things we would do. A lot of the permaculture people will plant guilds. You'll have this tree with a nitrogen fixer next to it with, the blueberry shrubs, and then maybe comfrey and chop and drop. I think that's still highly efficient and really great for an edible landscape. But they'll try to design like large scale ecosystems where you're taking 30, 40, 100 acres, 500 acres, and get perennial crops that mimic nature, the nature that's around it, wherever it may be. So he's going to come here. Probably going to be looking at chestnut trees. Chestnuts are cousins of the oak trees, and Missouri is totally full of oak trees. Ethan, what is your favorite, you know, apple outside of that? What is a black Arkansas apple? We'll keep going here. Yeah, I wonder about the cider. You said something went wrong. Um, I don't know what could have gone wrong. The only thing I can think is it got infected, unless it went right and it just tasted bad. That's also definitely possible. I know on the frontier days for cider making, it was a necessity, right? You couldn't trust the water you were drinking. If there was alcohol in it, it meant that nothing that could kill you could live in it, right? You could drink it and you could get an upset stomach, but you couldn't get like dysentery and die from most alcohols. Um, and so that was really a tool. And then I know that they also used not apple. I think they called it Applejack. Yeah, I think that was the name, was Applejack. Well, you just take apple cider, you left it in barrels outside. As it got colder and colder and colder, the water in the apple cider um, would basically freeze, and then they remove it, and then it freeze again the next night because it got a little bit colder, and then remove it, and it would just concentrate that. So it's not quite a liquor because liquor is distilled, going through the mechanical process of distillation. Let's see. The cider got ropey. Okay. Sounds like a bacterial infection. Usually, if it gets fuzzy on the top, then it'd be a mold got to it. Are Arkansas black apples, Ethan? Are they just around here? Like, can we find them and eat them around Missouri? Or are they only in Arkansas? Do we have to travel to Arkansas? Yeah, well, that's awesome that Corey, you are trying to plant as much as possible. Yeah, I kind of got bit by the bug, and then just trying to just design the perennials around it, where it's like, hey, what perennial things can I plant once that are over time just going to grow and grow and grow and produce, you know, fertility for the land and food if I want it, and a beautiful place to walk and shade. So pretty neat stuff. I don't know if, and I did find some local persimmon trees that fell, but yeah, I haven't found any pear trees except for the Bradford pears, and their teeny tiny pears are very bitter. So don't want to try that. I do want to try that grafting experiment, because if I could graft a few, finger size, thumb size grafts of something that's already in good shape and just take over that root system to make that. I mean, if you trimmed off all the other branches that were trying to grow the Bradford pear, replaced it with a delicious pear that you like, then the root system's going to say, whoa, 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 we still have a lot of energy. Let's try to get back alive, right? So if you strategically grafted three or four, and then you cut everything off, that'd be huge. Oh, cool. Yeah. I don't think I've seen, it could be wild asparagus. I've seen asparagus under signs on the highway, but I don't think I've ever just walked through the woods and found wild asparagus. I think that'd be pretty cool to see, because they live 15 to 20 years, I think. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, radishes are very, very quick. Radishes are also something, if you have a grow light, you can grow them indoors in pots and stuff. So if you want to grow very quickly, you can definitely hit there. Um, it's very hard to beat. Another thing, thinking out of the box, we don't do this in the United States very much anymore, but it's rabbits. Rabbits are very, very quick. You can do what's called clan style. It's a 3 clan rotation. So you keep the genetics separate where you have like a blue clan, a red clan, a green clan. And then during the breeding seasons, you just make sure that they breed a very certain way. You can Google it. But rabbits require very little. You can actually feed them with grasses as they're eating the grasses in like a chicken's tractor, almost a rabbit tractor. I mean, they have a very quick turnaround. Yeah, rabbits are like a four-legged chicken. I mean, and they'll reproduce fast. In fact, it's funny in the United States prior to World War II, actually even a little bit after the 50s and before, every cookbook had rabbit in it. Rabbit was a very, very common thing. Now people are like, oh my gosh, because of Disney and whatnot, oh my gosh, we can't eat rabbits. No, like rabbits are very, very common. And if you had rabbits, like let's say, also another one, if you had chickens, the chickens will produce eggs. And if you just keep the light on, then they'll continue to produce more and more eggs. So you don't even have to just eat the chickens. These are like the fastest way possible to get food and consistent. So like let's say say hypothetically, the world ended or there was some major crisis. You can't get feed anymore. Well, you turn your chickens loose and they'll just forage for their own. Your egg production will drop significantly, but it will still be there. If you have a rooster and you protect your chickens you can use to make more chickens. So that's a semi-small closed loop. They're actually very winter hardy. Most chickens are. And then if you have rabbits, rabbits can go outside on the grass, eat, use a rabbit tractor or whatever, and then you can turn around and you can dress the rabbits for dinner. So you have a pretty robust system right there for 2 meat-based things. And they're turning, grass and forage into meat, right? Also, not sure from a food perspective what you're talking about. Like let's MYOB, cows, cattle, dairy cows specifically, they're taking grass and they're converting grass to like 4 gallons of milk a day. That milk can be used as a byproduct to, ferment grain. That you can feed it to your other livestock. 1 gallon of milk is like, or what? Yeah, 1 gallon of milk is actually, it separates out to, I think, a quarter cup of cream. You can use that to make butter. Then you got buttermilk. You can use it to trade. You can make soap out of it. And they're taking grass, like cattle. I haven't gotten into it yet. I've been doing a lot of research, but they're taking just grass, right? And they're converting the grass into a very usable product. And then you can use that to make more cows, especially because you have the cows. You have to impregnate them. And then so you also have the calf, and you can sell that calf up to recoup some of your costs. So I know a milk cow is another good option, but I'm throwing stuff out there because I don't know what specific. If you're like, I'm in an apartment, that's very different. Oh, cool. Yeah. 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 Goats are another good one. A lot of people will have milk goats where you can get that. You can have meat goats as well. And if you're in the sticks, and you live kind of where we're at in the Ozark Mountains, there's mountains everywhere, and there's just tons of brush. Well, goats prefer brush and brambles, and that's what they would want to snack on and eat. To the point where if you have enough space and a small enough number of goats, you can probably rotationally graze your goats. And also, very similar, you can get those benefits from the cows, which is having milk. I don't think the cream content is as high for goats. I think sheep has a higher content, but I'm not an expert. We're definitely going way out of the what I am used to or currently have experience with. I'm try to try to be well read, but you know, actual hands-on experience. I'm not trying to talk to. Sheep too. I was looking into sheep because cattle prefer grass. The sheep I can't remember what they eat. I know goats prefer the brambles and leaves off of basically small shrubs and blackberries and thickets and thorns. Like goats eat that. That's what they prefer. They don't prefer grass. They will eat it if they have to. And then cattle like grass and will eat thorns and thickets if they have to. I can't remember what sheep do. It's more grass based. But if you want to clear an area out, you send goats in first. It clears the area, followed by sheep for maintenance or cattle for maintenance, from what I understand. I'm not sure if they eat clover specific. I'm sure they do eat clover and specifically. I think you're asking more. Can you just feed rabbits clover, and that's the only thing you feed them? I know clover's pretty good as a nitrogen fixer. Also, with the rabbit tractors that I've seen, they'll have a hardware mesh bottom, hardware cloth mesh bottom, and they'll basically keep everything trimmed. Anything that pokes through, they can eat, and they're actually you can use them as an actual lawnmower. You just got to move that thing around every few days. I think I'm not sure where you're at in the world geographically, but rabbits can get by in most backyards. And then you might, depending on your winter, there are special hays. I think you'll have to look into the hays that they have for them. But there's definitely some that are better than some grass-based foods that are better for them than others. But back to chickens, if you have food scraps or whatever, you can supplement your feed costs, and you really technically don't need to feed them. If you go back to the pre-grain, pre-1950s, with large amounts of grain accessible to everybody at all times, and the 1800s, 1890s and before, most chickens, you're looking at food scraps to feed the chickens, and then you can have like a soldier fly buckets. You can have a maggot farm to offset the feed for your chickens. But having chickens is huge because it gives you the ability to continuously have a supply of eggs, right? And your scraps that you may have food for can go to feed them, and you can use like like a maggot farm or something in a bucket. And basically a maggot farm is a 5-gallon bucket with holes in it. If you have roadkill, if you shoot raccoons or something that are getting on your property and trying to kill your chickens, you just throw in the bucket. Well, the flies will go in, lay their eggs, maggots will hatch, they'll start eating the decomposing thing, and then they'll actually fall into your chicken coop right through the holes of the bucket. And that's a good way to supplement chickens. So chickens are the gateway one, but that's a very easy one to have. Uh, let's see here. Yeah, yeah. Corey saying that they clean up the bugs and frogs. Chickens. If you just look at a chicken and the way it behaves, it's real crazy. Like it's a dinosaur. If you were to scale a chicken up to velociraptor size, that would be a terrifying thing. Um, and they're definitely like pack animals. If you throw something in there or a mouse, I mean, they'll hunt it down. They'll like run at it, attack it, and stuff. So it's pretty. That's just another additional thing. If you can have the opportunity to have chickens, um, another kind of a hands-off food or livestock that we don't think of is honeybees. Honeybees are, if you do natural beekeeping, they have Keeping Bees with a Smile by Dr. Leo Shiroskin. I have 5 of them. It's no work beekeeping, or very, very little work beekeeping. In fact, most of the beekeeping work that I do because I want to shoot videos for you guys and take a peek inside and do all that stuff. But if you do natural beekeeping, you don't really have to do very much effort at all. You just roll up, you check it in the spring for your spring inspection, and then you check it in the fall for your fall inspection, and your fall inspection, you pull some honey. I mean, that's pretty much all I did. I actually didn't shoot any video for you guys. I did winterize the hives just because I wanted to get out there and get it done. I winterized the hives, and there was beautiful honey, but it took me 5 minutes to winterize. Horizontal layings, frames, hives, super, super easy. I highly recommend it. Go check out some of my other videos if you're interested in bees at all. It definitely does not need to be as much work as you wanted. And actually, it's funny. I could say that like bees are what got me started prior to all the gardening I was doing. Did I have bees? No, I had chickens first, then I had bees. But it was interesting because I started looking. I was like flowers. I'm going to plant flowers. And I was like, oh, if I'm going to plant flowers, that's stupid. I should plant flowers that are useful that I can eat. Oh, well, what are flowers like? Oh, a vegetable garden. That's flowers that I can eat because it's useful. And then that's when I actually started going down the lean gardening path. So yeah, and Corey, yeah, chickens are vicious. They are, they are pretty crazy, and they're pretty hardy. You know, we have a chicken called Bloody Mary. She survived 9 attacks over the 3 years we've had her. Where something this is before I got a really good netting system up and a guard dog, but 9 separate attacks where the entire flock was wiped out except for like 5 birds. And then we bought more birds or hatched more birds, and then you know then another attack would come and wipe a whole bunch out. She survived 9 of them, so we call her Bloody Mary. She's the only chicken that had a name. The very first chickens we had names, and then they were all killed. So, you know, some people say don't name your chickens. If you name your chicken, then immediately it will die. So, how many acres am I on? Um, we're mainly wooded on 3 ridges, so it's about 160 acres of land. Um, that's we were just very, very fortunate back in the 50s. Uh, we're on the outskirts of town. Now the two towns are growing together, but when back in the 50s, it was like, oh, that's useless land. There's land out there. Who wants it? And so my dad picked it up for very, very cheap because it was just land to run cattle on. And so he never intended to live here. He found an old shack on the land, and that old shack ended up being a log cabin. And that's actually the log cabin. That's the first part of this house. Back there, you can't really see it because the house is in the way, but there was an old log cabin, and then he basically kept building on over and over and over. So that's kind of what happened. Bee videos. Yes, I have a ton of bee videos that are all capturing all the mistakes that I made so you don't have to make the mistakes. So, and it's a little bit more expensive up front to go down the natural beekeeping route if you get the insulated hives. I definitely recommend it. I have no affiliation with them, but once you read the natural beekeeping book, if you want to do that, basically the bees to overwinter consume the honey stores to keep warm. So if you have an insulated hive, then you're reducing the amount of honey they have to harvest to make it through the winter. And during the spring inspection, I'll actually pull honey from the hives because they overwintered with enough honey. So now I'm just spot checking, verifying. I'll pull extra honey they don't need. So I'll actually get 2 harvests out of a year, which some of it is the previous honey stored from the fall before. So yeah. And again, it's so easy to be unreasonably intimidated by beekeeping. Look up natural beekeeping. I know Off Grid with Doug and Stacy have really good videos on it, and Dr. Leo does a great. But like I do very little to no work. I know a ton about beekeeping. I mean, I'll get in arguments with like traditional beekeeping being modern beekeeping versus traditional beekeeping. Natural beekeeping is more like people, kept bees before. If you go back and you read old manuscripts, bees are crazy. So if you read old manuscripts, the average peasant, everyone in this country, everyone in Europe, everyone kept bees, and they kept thousands and thousands. You keep tons and tons of hives. The average peasant family back in the 1300s kept 1,000 beehives. all this work that we're talking about, with the smoker and the lifting of boxes and splitting stuff up, that was Mr. Langstroth designed those. And that was to maximize bee production, or sorry, honey production, at the expense of the bees and at the expense of humans. So natural beekeeping is going back more towards the old style beekeeping, slightly modified because we're putting them on frames and you're mimicking a log that has fallen over. And then it's like the fallen log has the frames in it, so the bees are already used to that. And then you're not lifting a bunch of boxes, you're not really doing anything. If you forget, your bees aren't just going to be pissy and leave. Because if you buy bees and they fly away, because your poor management, then that's the equivalent of like $200 just being like, all right, I'm flying away. You just lost $200. You just decided to move because they swarmed because you didn't provide the right conditions. Versus natural beekeeping, it's like, okay, they can swarm, they cannot swarm. You don't have to worry about it. They're not just going to leave for no reason, and you have a lot less control, and it's a lot gentler on the bees, which makes them want to stick around more. The downside is you generally get less honey, or about the same amount of honey, but less honey, definitely less work. But you might have to have more hives because they take up more space. So I don't know. I could totally see having like secret hive, and talking about this, you said when we were, MYOB, when you're going to move, you're going to try that for sure. There's a lot of city beekeepers. There's a lot of people like in, it's like New York City. There's beekeeping associations, but you can literally plant and attract a hive, um, and have them inside of a hive indoors. I mean, you can look up a few of the observation hives. So, and beekeeping is one you can do everywhere, um, except for like Antarctica or something. Well, guys, we've got about 12 minutes left. I will pop off. Anyone have any other questions? I think this was fun. This is a good interaction. You know, looks like that storm is finally coming in. I'm not sure if you guys can hear that whistling through cracks in the windows, but yeah, I'm glad that we could just hang out with everybody here. Let me know in the comments real quick if you guys got any value out of this or suggestions on what to talk about next time. I'm definitely down to, share with the audience what you guys want. Clover for cover. Yeah, I know that clover is a very big. It's a good nitrogen fixer. I'll have to look more into it. I planted a bunch of red clover this year, which I think is an annual. Actually, it's not a perennial. Um, I was actually looking into some other ground covers. There was bilberries I'm looking at planting. It's like a blueberry, but it's a even smaller ground shrub that can. There's a very hardy plant and they can live in partial shade. So growing that as a ground cover to keep weeds out and stuff was an interesting thing. Um, and then I don't know. I like the idea of planting invasive food. You know, planting invasive food is a very interesting thing for me. Just like blackberries, if you can just have food constantly self-replicate everywhere, and you can manage that and do very little work, I think that's a win, right? If you want to make wine out of it, make wine out of it. Yeah, so my sweet potato harvest video is not out yet. It's about to come out. It's a complete failure. I'm just gonna let you know up front, and it is. Um, but yeah, basically the sweet potato. Yeah, effectively, what I think happened is I let it go 90 days. Um, it did not really. It should have gone like 120 days or more. So, and sweet potatoes are great. I want to plant all kinds of sweet potatoes, so I'm going to buy a whole bunch of different ones, and then I'm also going to go look at different kinds of just potato planting because a 5 gallon bucket is a very good tool, because you can basically layer and plant, and as the potato plant grows up, you put more dirt in, and it grows up some more. Every time it grows, you add more dirt. It'll often start sprouting more tubers. So you can actually grow quite a bit of normal potatoes in. Also, the reason I like sweet potatoes now, don't eat the tops of normal potatoes because they're poisonous, but the tops of sweet potatoes are basically a spinach alternate that's not bitter. So it got tons of antioxidants, very good, lots of high in fiber, but it is not, it's not, it's just not very, uh, oh, what's the word? It's, it's not bitter. So like you can have a lot of, you can harvest a lot of it, but it's one of the few plants that you're growing two crops at once. Yeah, you could grow alfalfa. I think that's what it is. I think you're talking about the alfalfa for the rabbits. I think you can grow alfalfa inside pretty easily for rabbits as well. You have to do like a hydroponic system with trays and stuff. But yeah, I've tried to. So I love going down the rabbit holes of what could you do in small settings. I try to design systems. I like to design systems and processes outside because I'm actually a black thumb. If I have to care for something, it'll die. So the best, a plant of some kind. So the best systems for me is how do I watch nature and then use the eight wastes of lean, overproduction and transportation, inventory, defects, overprocessing, minimize those in the garden settings and design a system where it's like no effort for the human, but the garden's going to keep growing. I've got a upcoming garden video that's going to be released. Well, the cool thing about that garden video is I did not water my garden once this summer. I didn't do anything. I planted in the spring and that was it. What made it, made it. What didn't. Did I get the best harvest? No. Did I get half as good a harvest as my neighbor up the street? No. But I didn't do any work. I planted in the spring and that was it. Oh, I take that back. As it was growing, I would basically throw a special zip tie on or a special uh, what's it called, Velcro on for trellising purposes. But I didn't do any weeding, didn't do any fertilizing in the heat of the summer. I did not do anything pretty much. So it was truly no work, and I still got tons of food from it. Well, cool. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it, and feel free to leave comments on any of the videos. That definitely helps. I don't, not just for me, but any viewers that you like. Can you eat rhubarb? I think you can eat like the stem of rhubarb. I think that's the portion you eat. I don't think you eat the leaves, and you don't eat the roots. I know a lot of people will brew alcohols and beers with it. I'll have to look into that more. Um, I think there was some video I watched people transplanting it recently, but yeah. Well, cool. Any last minute questions before I roll? Well, I appreciate you guys joining again. Leave comments in any of the videos you like. I'll see them and respond to them. And leave comments on any videos of any normal folks that you like watching videos of. It definitely helps their channels if you want to help them grow. That's funny, Ethan. Yeah, rhubarb can grow so fast you can hear it. Nice. Yeah, I think there was a local brewery and it was like a watermelon or no, it was a strawberry rhubarb beer. Oh, I know who it was. It was New Glarus out of Minnesota as a beer, and it's strawberry rhubarb beer, and it was pretty good. Um, but yeah, I think it was only a certain part of the plant that you want to eat. All right, guys. Well, if there's nothing else, I appreciate you guys sticking out, hanging around for an hour, and let me know. Yeah, there you go. Leaf of rhubarb is poisonous. Thank you for that, Corey. I'm pretty sure it's the stem that you use, the red part. All right, and stick around. For those of you, I've got an efficient hat video coming out. I actually wear the rice hat not as a gimmick. It's the most efficient hat unless it's winter specifically. Yeah, okay, yeah. It was New Glarus. I knew it was one of the northern states. And the reason I know that is because someone, what my girlfriend's family or my girlfriend basically has to get people to bring it because we can't find it in stores locally around here. So the only time we get that is when people bring it down. Yeah, there you go, Corey. See, you're saving people's lives. Look at that. Good thing that you came on today. Snack Snafu. You have to tell me more about that name in a future time. Cool beans. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining, and I'll try to make these a regular thing. Let me know a time that works better or worse for us. But we'll see you later. Go out there and make sure you guys fix what bugs you. If it bothers you and you can do it under 5 minutes, go do it right now.